We met them earlier today, so there's no reason to.
All rise, please. Please be seated. This is case number 163031. FY People versus Lawrence Nassar. Attention for the record.
Good morning, Your Honor. Angela Povolitis, P58430. My last name is P-O-V-I-L-A-I-T-I-S, on behalf of the Michigan Department of Attorney General.
Good morning, Your Honor. Robin Liddell on behalf of the people, P68287.
Good morning, Judge. I'm Shannon Smith on behalf of Lawrence Nassar, who sits to my left, P68683.
Good morning, Judge. Matt Newberg on behalf of Mr. Nassar, P71692.
So, being the observant guy that I am, I see that you guys have switched chairs.
We have, Judge, and respectfully, I've asked the defense to do so because I thought it would be most appropriate to be as close to the victim while she testifies as possible.
I don't have a problem with that. Does the defense counsel have a problem with that?
We don't, Judge.
No, Your Honor.
So, are there any preliminary matters before we get started?
Judge, there is still one outstanding issue with the court. As you're well aware, prior to our last hearing, and I believe even prior to that, there was a stipulated request from both the prosecution and the defense to respectfully close the courtroom for the limited purposes of this complaining victim's testimony. In support of that stipulation, we did provide you with a statute that does allow for the closure of the courtroom only for a minor victim's testimony in a criminal sexual assault case. We are not attempting to not be transparent, but I think the interest in this case of protecting this young woman's privacy outweighs the need for the openness of this courtroom. And just so we're clear, we're only asking that that be done during her testimony. If any other witnesses are called by either the people or the defense, we would have no objection to that courtroom coming back open. I have had an opportunity to speak with this young woman. She is well aware of the unusual circumstances surrounding this case and has asked me on her behalf to make this request to the court. If the court is not inclined to close the courtroom completely, I think a fair solution to both protect her privacy and the public's interest in this case is to perhaps appoint one pool reporter who would be present and who could share that information with other reporters who are here.
That actually sounds like a brilliant resolution.
And I can't take credit for it. I think someone wearing a robe probably may have proposed that to us before. But I would be in agreement if the court were not inclined to completely close the courtroom. But with one caveat, Judge. Traditionally in these types of cases, I know the media is incredibly respectful of the privacy rights of complainants and victims and the circumstances that surround coming forward as a sexual assault victim and coming to court. I would ask you, and I've spoken with many of the members here, I would ask that if she testifies and if there is a camera in the courtroom, or even those who may be blogging or doing other types of dissemination of this hearing, that her identity not be revealed, that she not be videotaped. In fact, I would respectfully ask that the cameras be turned off while she testifies, that her voice not be disseminated, that no identifying information from her testimony in which the public could then ascertain her identity be revealed in the media. And I would expand that to some extent, right? I know that there are at least 2 other subpoenaed witnesses who are present in court who I do not intend to call, but who may be called to testify, who have a relationship to this young woman. And I would respectfully ask that their identities as well not be revealed. If the courtroom is open for that, that's fine, but I think that somewhat of a backward attempt of obtaining her identity could be done through those other subpoenaed witnesses.
Okay. Co-defense?
Thank you, Your Honor. For the record, the defense had no objection to the prosecution's request to close the courtroom, but at this point, we would not be stipulating to that request. We agree that the cameras should not be on the complainant as she testifies and that her voice should not be used in the media. But at this point, we would ask that the media be allowed in the courtroom, only because I don't know how the court can pick one person to be the representative for all of the media. But I think there's enough accommodations that can be made to protect the complainant's identity and privacy without closing the entire courtroom. And of course, we would agree to sequestration of any subpoenaed witnesses for the exam.
I would agree with that as well. And for a trial, for that matter, with the exception, of course, of the officer in charge of this case, Detective Sergeant Andrew Mumford, who is a little bit away from me on my right.
And we have no objection to Detective Mumford being in the courtroom as the officer in charge.
Your Honor, as a member of the news media, may I speak?
No, you may not.
Okay,
I'm
thank
not
you.
a party to the case. I started hearing from everybody in the media. There's probably a dozen people that I would end up having to hear from. So, I believe that Ms. Politis has actually sort of indicated what my position already is, since we had a preliminary discussion about this matter. I think that it would be in keeping with the spirit of the openness of the courtroom to allow for there to be media presence. But I think that given the number of cameras that I see, and I'm actually getting a little nervous myself, it might be intimidating for a witness, even though we usually only reserve that for minor witnesses in CSC cases. This is a CSC allegation involving a young lady that apparently has some concerns about the number or the nature of what this hearing actually is. And so given that fact, I think that I am going to do as sort of I had telegraphed before and limit the number of cameras in the courtroom. There won't be any use of cell phone cameras, for example. If you have a cell phone, it's actually not supposed to be on in the courtroom in the first instance. But certainly we're going to not have people using cell phone cameras to take pictures. And I think that what I would like to do is probably limit what we have in terms of the number of cameras to maybe 2 or 1 or 2 of each type of camera. With the understanding that the court's order is going to be for there to not be any actual photographs of the victim or the alleged victim from the shoulders up, that she not be subject to having her identity disclosed in the media in terms of her actual name, and that we take precautions to sequester any witnesses that might be present in the courtroom. I don't know if there are more than one witness that is supposed to be called with regard to this matter, but certainly if there's more than one witness that is going to be called with regard to this matter, that they be sequestered. And if there is, I should probably address those persons individually now, just to make sure that they understand what sequestration actually means. Ms. Politis, do you have more than the one witness that you're expecting to call?
We do not, Judge. We've already put those people in another room, and we're fine with them, obviously, in light of your order, being outside of her testimony.
So I guess for the ladies and gentlemen of the media, I am not going to make the determination as to who would be allowed to be able to remain in the courtroom. I'm going to allow you guys to kind of decide among yourselves in terms of what it is that you do from a tactical standpoint, that you can share that information in a manner that makes sense for all of you, so that you don't need to have all of these cameras here in the courtroom. So I'd like to limit the number of cameras that we have so that it's not intimidating, but I'll let you guys decide among yourselves who it is that should be present, and then we'll kind of go from there once we have the other folks removed from the courtroom. So what I'm going to do is I'll give you 10 or 15 minutes so that you can kind of figure out among yourselves what makes sense for who could actually be the person that might be allowed to be able to do the feeds that the others of you use for your purposes. So I'm going to take a recess for about 15 minutes to give you guys an opportunity to...
Judge, may I just, pardon the interruption, respectfully ask for some clarification. So you are allowing for them to not videotape her face, but they are still allowed to record her voice? I mean, I can tell you that I would object to that, and I don't know if you're inclined to follow that objection, but we're respectfully requesting that.
What would be the purpose of not having her voice?
Well, I think she could still be identified, quite frankly, in this small community.
How would that happen?
Because folks are aware of her voice. They may be aware of, I can't control which of her testimony or the facts that would then be
Is this somebody that's
recorded.
like a public figure or something like that?
No.
And I guess I'm having difficulty understanding how they would be able to, excuse me, sir, there's no food or beverage in the...
Sorry, Your Honor, apologize.
Here, I guess I'm kind of baffled as to how it would be that they could be able to identify the person just based on his voice.
Well, I think that, again, depending on the testimony that is recorded and then disseminated, both through the relationship that she might have with the defendant, through other facts that she may elicit during the testimony, that perhaps not the whole world, but a portion of this community who is familiar with her relationship with the defendant may be able to identify her. Our hope, Judge, quite frankly, is that she's able to come in and testify freely, but also retain some privacy as to not let the world know that she is in fact the victim who has come forward. So I just want to place my objection. I understand that you may not agree with that, but I think that is available to you, that folks can still, in a manner of print, memorialize her testimony without identifying her. But I think if you disseminate her voice, she may be able to be identified, and her privacy, therefore, is invaded.
Okay, let's hear from defense counsel, Mr. Newberg or Ms. Smith. Which one of you guys would like to address that?
Judge, I'll address that. It's my understanding that the victim doesn't even live in Michigan anymore. So I don't know who from the community is going to identify her through her voice in this community. She doesn't live in Michigan. The other thing, Judge, is details of this case have been put in the paper. And so as to some of the facts and circumstances that may be testified to in the relationship that she had with our client has already been made public through various media outlets. So I don't understand how that is going to change whether her voice gets put on TV or not, Judge.
Thank you, Mr. Newberg. Ms. Smith, anything to add to that?
No, thank you, Judge.
Ms. Popolaitis, if you'd like to respond.
Just briefly, Judge, I think the difference here is that this complainant has not given interviews. She has not disseminated facts of this case. Neither has either the police department or the prosecutors in this case. I don't know what the source of that information is. Quite frankly, I don't think it matters in your analysis in this ruling. But she has not given any public interviews. She has not disclosed facts of the case, nor has the prosecution who's presenting this motion. For those reasons, I think there is some difference there, and I would still respectfully ask that no audio recording, video recording of this complainant in any manner be part of the order.
Well, I'm going to allow for the video recording of her, as I indicated before. And again, to the members of the media, I would like you guys to limit the number of cameras. Probably just two would probably be sufficient. And I don't have a problem with her having her voice recorded. I don't think that is going to invade her privacy, but I do want to make sure that we don't identify her for purposes of whatever stories you decide to run, and that there is no photographs of her, still or otherwise, that are taken from the shoulders on. So, as I said before, I'm going to take about 15 minutes so that you guys can figure out among yourselves who will be allowed to be able to stay in the courtroom pursuant to my order, and then we'll go from there. And the other folks, once we're done with the testimony of the victim, of course you'll be welcome to come back to record anything that happens with regard to the rest of the
Judge, there's one more issue, really briefly, and I think we're in agreement to this. In light of your ruling that we just received, the complainant has respectfully requested that I ask the court to allow her to have a support person here in court. I think that is allowed under this statute. I've identified that person to the defendant. She is not a witness in this case. It's a family friend, an attorney who's here local, who's willing to do so. And I would ask the court to allow that as part of your exception to your order.
Ms. Smith?
We have no objection to that.
So the support person can be present near her in the witness box. I believe that she can't actually sit in the witness spots with her reporters, but she can be in close proximity so that she can be supportive of whatever needs to be supportive with regard to the witness.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. So we'll take about 15 minutes.